Okay, cool. Cool, 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 cool. All right, we're gonna do this real quick, guys. We're gonna do a quick little feral VOD. Um, so basically just an intro to, I mean, I know BFA is coming out soon, but there are a lot of people that I've seen that still want to learn Feral Druid, that I still get a lot of questions and stuff in chat. So I want to have a VOD on my channel on Twitch. I also want to have a VOD, try and get that up on YouTube so that people can check it out should they require it. So right now, I'm in the best possible single target gear I could be in. I've got my full set, I've got the best legendary helm, and I've got the best legendary ring on. So right now, we're looking how we want to be. Right now, the basics of Feral that we're going to go through are probably just a single target rotation. I might briefly mention some of the AoE involved, but looking at some of the basics of the single target. So, Predator is not a single target talent, so don't even think about it. Blood Scent is a flat 10% crit, which is going to help you kind of get more spenders. So it's going to help you get more rips, more savage roars, more ferocious bites. So that's Blood Scent's quite nice. One fuel, but it's passive. You don't have to worry about an extra button. But with Luna Inspiration, you're going to be getting, one additional. It is technically a passive, but it's not. It just allows you to use Moonfire in cat form. So that's going to be an extra dot that you have on the target, which is nice. And it's also, I mean, it helps out with like if you go Blood Talons, but you probably won't go Blood Talons in this current iteration of the game. So it's a nice little multi-dot factor. It normally does around about 17% of my damage on a single target fight. Probably not that high. Probably about between 12 and 17%, depending on the fight and what's going on. Next row talents don't really matter too much. It just depends on your utility. Renewal, I don't think anyone in the history of Feral has ever taken that. But Wild Charge or Displacer, I personally prefer Displacer Beast. A lot of other people you'll see will use Wild Charge, but it's kind of a either or situation. Always balance affinity. That's going to increase the range of all of our abilities by 5 yards, which I'm going to show you some fun little things with how we can make balance affinity just really pop off in a little bit. I'm going to show you for our AoE. Um, Next row of talents again don't really matter. That's kind of just choice on CC and kind of how you want to be CC in mobs really. That doesn't matter too much. Next we've got Soul of the Forest. This is well, Incarnation Jagged Wounds. This is kind of one of our biggest main rows of talents. Incarnation right now is the best on the row. The way that the game works currently in terms of cooldown usage, you basically just you have filler content, and then as soon as you have your cooldowns, you line up all your cooldowns together, and then that's when all of your damage comes up. So you have, if you look on your Warcraft logs, you'll see like a huge peak at the start of the fight when you use your cooldowns, and then 3 minutes into the fight, if you using them at 3 minutes, you'll see another huge spike, and then like again later if you manage to use them a third time. So those are where your peaks are. That's where all your damage is coming from. The rest of the time is just filler. So Incarnation is really, really good solid talent. It doesn't really take too much skill to use. You literally just proc it and then go and keep pressing what you're normally pressing. Soul of the Forest is again it's good. I mean that's why you have the legendary ring, which allows you to have that talent, which is going to increase the damage of all of your finishes, which is really really nice. Um, but I said that it's nice to use with Incarnation if you can. You don't really want it instead of, I would say. And Jagged Wounds is that's more of a bleed oriented build, which we're not too bothered about at the minute. The state we're at right now, we want a lot of versatility. So if I show you, I've got a lot of versatility, 11,500, 24% versatility, which is really, really high. And then I've got a little bit too much haste. I want to drop that down a little bit, and I want my haste, or I want my haste and my crit to swap round. So I've got 8.5k crit. That's too low. I want it to be around about 10 to 12k is like anywhere in that region is fine. And so it's a little bit low what with having too much haste. And then my mastery you can see is only 5k, and that could probably be even a little bit lower. So bleeds right now aren't too big a deal. So Jagged Wounds doesn't really have too much play viability at the minute. But then we've got Sabretooth, Brutal Slash, and Savage Roar. Brutal Slash, we don't really use Sabretooth. The thing is, I see a lot of people that want to use Sabretooth because they think, oh, it's one less button, it's a little bit easier. Don't take it. Just don't take it. Just either learn to use Brutal Slash or learn to use Savage Roar. Savage Roar is a slightly higher skill cap because it's one extra thing you have to be thinking about, but it's really quite easy to use, and I'm going to show you how in just a minute. Brutal Slash, the difference between that and Savage Roar is around about. Brutal Slash only does around about 3 to 4% less damage than Savage Roar on a single target fight. So that shows you how good Brutal Slash is at the minute. Um, The thing with that though is it's not as good. Three 3 to 4% extra damage at the top end is a really big deal. So like if you're going for maximum efficiency, just learn to use Savage Roar. Just learn it. It may take you a couple weeks, so be it. Just learn it. I'd say that would be my big advice. But if you're totally against Savage Roar, don't want to use it, Brutal Slash is still really good, so you can be fine there. The last final tier, again, take Moment of Clarity. It's going to give you more energy, so to stop you overcapping and to, kind of give you a little bit more leeway, getting a few more abilities. It's also going to give you free casts on your abilities. So you're going to have, not only are you going to get more energy, but you're also going to get free instant casts on some of your abilities. It only works for shred, and you're only really going to use it for shred. You're not really going to use thrash or swipe on single target. If you're using brutal slash, obviously that'll affect it. Um, so yeah, so it's really good and increases it increases. I mean, Omen Clarity is going to increase the damage of the next abilities, so that's real cool as well. Chat's having a good time right now. Blood Talons, we don't use it at the minute. In BFA, we are going to be using it again. It's going to become very strong as we go back to kind of a high mastery, high haste, bleed based build. Um, but that's the state of things. I wouldn't really recommend Blood Talons right now. It's a little bit too high skill cap for the reward, and you can see. I mean, it's been nerfed since the beginning of the expansion. It used to offer, I think, 50% damage. Now it's only 20%. So why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's not worth it. And then Elun's guidance, it's just not it's just not good. We're not even gonna get into it. Just don't take it. Just take Moment of Clarity. Elun's guidance, I don't think anyone's used it all expansion, and it's getting removed in BFA, so that shows how good it is for us. So that's all the talents. Now the basics of Feral, I mean, all you want to really do is you want to get all of your bleeds on the target, and then once you have all of your bleeds on the target, then it's just ticking over. So just making sure you're not capping on energy, because if you cap on energy, you're wasting abilities or the potential to have used abilities. So obviously you've got your main bleed builder, which is Rake. So that's how you're going to open every fight. And then you got Rip. That's your 5 combo point, you know, high damage bleed over time effect. But in between that, you just want to be shredding and ferocious biting. That's the core of it. That's what you want to be doing. You want your rip and your rip and your rake on the target, and then just shred and ferocious bite in between. You will find if you don't have the legendaries and you don't have a whole lot of gear, you might struggle to actually have enough energy to fit too many ferocious bites in within a bleed window. But as your gear increases, you'll be able to kind of get more and more ferocious bites off in between your bleeds. Um, Apart from that, you've got your 2 cooldowns, which is Incarnation and your Asherman's Frenzy. You want to sync these up together as much as possible, because Asherman's Frenzy, based on the artifact weapon, is going to give you 30% increased damage on all of your abilities, as you can see by this talent here. The increased damage of your feral abilities uh, to deal 30% damage. Now, it is to the target affected, so it's the target that you've used Asherman's Frenzy on. But if on a single target fight, that's fine. Um, so you get 30% increased damage, plus your Incarnation, plus your Tiger's Fury, which is 15% damage, plus if you're running Savage Roar, an extra 15% there. So all of it stacking together causes huge peaks in damage. As you demonstrated here, who needs graphs when you can just do that. So that's kind of the core of it. You want to sync these up as much as possible. As you can see, this is a 3-minute cooldown. This is a 1.25. So you should be able to use Incarnation and Ashermanes together at the beginning of the fight, and then you'll be able to use an Ashermanes, and then Incarnation Ashermane, and then Ashermane, and then Incarnation Ashermane, and it will just keep going like that. Get out of here. Get out of my VOD, dude. Stream sniper. Um, then obviously Tiger's Fury as well. You want to be stacking as many of your cooldowns with Tiger's Fury. Like, don't use your cooldown if you don't have Tiger's Fury. Obviously, Tiger's Fury is only on a 30-second cooldown, so you want to be using it whenever it is off cooldown. But if I'm going to get out of that, don't know what's going on there. You want to be, if you're going to use Ashermanes, use Tiger's Fury and then Ashermanes. Or if you're going to incarnate, use Tiger's Fury, Ashermanes, then incarnate. You see what I'm saying? So always try and be using Tiger's Fury because they'll snapshot Feral is a core snapshotting class. Not very many classes like it left in the game. So to kind of take us through our open rotation, you want to start in stealth because whenever you're in stealth, you'll be able to read at the bottom of this rake effect. While stealth, rake will also stun the target for 4 seconds. That's cool, but it won't really work on bosses. But deal 100% increased damage. So if you start the fight, you want to rake. The reason why you don't want to Tiger's Fury and then rake for that increased rake damage is because you'll be so overcapped on, and like you're just completely wasting all of that energy. It's not worth wasting all of that energy just for an extra 15% damage on that one initial rake. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to rake, then we're going to quickly try and get our Savage Roar up even at 1 or 2 combo points, because then the rest of our abilities are snapshotting and our rip will snapshot off of that Savage Roar. So that's why you want to get your Savage Roar up even if it's not at 5 combo points to begin with. So I'll show you that here. So we rake. I'm even going to throw in a Moonfire. Then we Savage Roar. Then we pop Tiger's Fury, Ashermane's Incarnation. Get our Rip up. Then we're just getting our builds, our bleeds back up on the target. And then we're just shredding and Savage Roaring. Ferocious Bind, sorry. Now we refresh our Savage Roar here. Get our bleeds back up on the target. There we go. As you can see, more Ferocious Bites, more Shreds, more Shreds. Oh, Tiger's Fury is off cooldown, so we're going to be popping that. Now you'll notice I don't refresh my bleeds after they've ticked off, right? Because it's a thing called Pandemic, which basically means when your dots, so when your Moonfire and Rake have 3 seconds left on them, you can refresh them and it will carry on that last tick. It will carry it on to the next rake that you do. For Rip, it's 7 seconds. So when Rip only has 7 seconds left, you can refresh it. So you'll see I never actually let my bleeds drop off the target. You want to always kind of keep them on. I've got Tiger's Free there, so I'm going to use Ashermane's there because it's still, still had it up. But as you can see, just keeping all my Rip, my Moonfire, and my Rake on the target. Savage Roaring whenever I need to. Keeping a note of that. Again, we're in a point where we can Tiger's Fury. Nice little boost to a damage window. So you can see that's kind of the basics of it. I'm going to give you little kind of tips and tricks. Those being to always stealth before you start a fight, so that you can get your 100% increased rake damage. The other one being to Savage Roar immediately after you rake. You can probably rake Moonfire then Savage Roar. That's fine too. I like to do that because it stops me from. See, if I look here, right? If I rake and then immediately Savage Roar and then Tiger's Fury, I'm capping on energy. Whereas if I rake, then I Moonfire, then I Savage Roar, then I Tiger's Fury, I'm making a better use of my energy. So that's fine with me. That's how I kind of like to do it. So I get my Savage Roar up as soon as possible. And then Tiger's Fury, Incarnation, Ashermane, just all in one. Boom, just proc them all. You might be able to make a macro for it if you really want to. Obviously, I'm a troll, so I can pop Berserking as well if I really want to. Um, Pandemic, I'll go into a little bit of greater detail about that because I was playing whilst I was talking about it. But basically, Pandemic works so that when there's only a slight amount of time, that last tick left on your dots, you can refresh them and it will carry that tick on to the dot that you refresh it with. Like I said, for Rake and Moonfire, that's when they have 3 seconds left. So you might even want to be able to get an add-on. I mean, right now I just have to do it. I just know when it's at a certain point, right? But you might be able to get an add-on that shows you a number here. So I know when my Rake gets to about like there, right there, that's when I can refresh it. Um, for Rip, it's at 7 seconds. So if you refresh it in 7 seconds or under, then it will carry on, and the pandemic effect will carry on through. So that's a way to kind of get a little bit extra DPS. Um, that's pretty much it in terms of the single target rotation. I am going to show you some fun, interesting things with the AoE. So I'll switch on to my AoE gear as soon as I've gone out of combat here. Just going to give you a sec. So for AoE, I'm running the Chatoyant and Lufas. I don't know why they're so French sounding. Um, the feral Frenchy spec over here. Still going to keep the 4-set because you may as well. If you've got some other gear, I don't think 4-set will be too mandatory for high AoE. But it will do. But what we want to do is take Predator for AoE and Brutal Slash. You only really want to take Predator in a... I mean, if you're in Mythic Plus, definitely take Predator. Always take Predator, always take Brutal Slash. Even on Tyrannical, even at high key levels, Brutal Slash and Predator are still way too valuable to not be taken. But Predator only really works if things are dying throughout the fight. If things aren't dying throughout the fight, then it's a useless talent. So let's say Fellhounds, right? Let's say Fellhounds and you're stacking them together for the whole entire fight. You may think, oh, well, it's a good AoE or a good cleave fight. You would still take Brutal Slash on that, but you wouldn't want to take Blood Scent because you wouldn't want to take Predator. You would want to take Blood Scent or maybe even Lunar Inspiration because nothing's dying, so you're not getting the resets on Tiger's Fury, so it's a loss of a talent there. But definitely take the Brutal Slash for the AoE. Now, Lufa's is really good because it increases the damage and range of your Thrash. So I'm going to show you, right? So if we're looking at this target here, right? So how close do we have to get? And this is this is without balance affinity, right? So let's see how close we have to get to the target for our Thrash to hit. Where are we going? About... Okay, so we have to get there. So that should be 8 yards, right? That should be 8 yards. I'm going to see if I can put down a flag. Can I put down a little marker? Oh, I need to be in a group with someone. I need to be in a group with someone to be able to put down a marker. This is awkward. Gonna invite my friend. Please accept. Okay, that's fine. I can do it. I don't even need him. Right? So this is where we can hit with Thrash, right? Now, if we and I'm gonna do that because I know he's gonna probably try and troll me. We're gonna next take Balance Affinity, right? Because it's gonna increase the range of all of our abilities by 5 yards. So let's see how far back. So about, yeah, about there, right? So Balance Affinity is going to increase our range to there. But now, if we take Luffas, that's going to increase our range by 75%. So we're still hitting there, still hitting there. Where is it? It's about here, right? So you can already see just having Luffas on is a huge increase. And we're actually going to struggle here because when we put on the chest piece, we're going to be able to go even further. So I'm going to unequip that legendary. And I'm going to put on the where is the legendary? I have it somewhere. I have it somewhere kicking about, knocking around. There it is. The legendary chest piece increases the effect of astral influence. That's the key one that we want to focus on there. So if we put that on, astral influence is here. It's the balance affinity, so it's going to increase our range by 5 yards plus the plus that by 75%. Plus Luffers by 75%. So basically, we can hit from there, but let's see how far back we can go. Still hitting there, still hitting there. That's a little bit closer. Why isn't this working for me? No, yeah, that should be working. So, there you go. So those are the ranges in which... This guy's going to try and kill me in a second, I know it. Those are the ranges that we find ourselves at if we have the different levels of range increase. So that's base. Red is base, just with absolutely no increase at all. Blue is only taking balance affinity. Purple is having balance affinity and luffers. And then orange is having balance affinity, luffers, and the chest piece. So you got to think, if you're on something like Coven, and you need to AoE, I mean, this is a melee class, guys. This is a melee class. Obviously, I mean, Brutal Slash isn't hitting the target. It's hitting these ones here, but it's not hitting that target there. but we're able to thrash from this far away. So that's absolutely insane. In general, the AoE, the best way you want to AoE is you want to start the fight. So I'm going to let that reset real quick. Make sure this guy doesn't come and try and kill us, because sometimes he does that. I'm going to reset. Okay, so let's say we're AoEing these 4 targets here. We won't have the chest piece equipped because we probably wouldn't ever actually use that. Let me do that. Probably won't ever actually... Oh, I'm in combat still. Let me run. Let me run. There we go. You never really used the chest piece in most instances. It is really kind of quite niche, probably only for things like covered and that kind of thing. So let's say we're AoEing these 4 mobs, and we've currently got these legendaries equipped, and we are going to be balanced affinity. Obviously, we're going to have Predator, we're going to have Brutal Slash. That's cool. Everything else stays exactly the same. That's fine. So we'll stealth, and then we'll rake because we're going to get the increase on that. Then we'll rake again. We'll imagine that we don't actually have 5 combo points. Rake that one, rake that one. Thrash, Brutal Slash, we'll rip that one, Brutal Slash, Brutal Slash. Then we'll refresh our rakes. Try and get as many rips on the target as possible, because if a target has rip on, then it's going to be contributing to our 4-set proc. Our 4-set is going to give us a chance to have a free max right there, just procced. So that's basically all you're going to have to do is just keep rake tab targeting, and then just brutal slashing in between, refresh and rips. So you can see on each target, we've got rake, we've got thrash. We should hopefully have as many rips as possible. The top tip on this being, if you're going to use brutal slash, right, you'll note that brutal slash is a 9.24 second cooldown. I think that's just based on a little bit of haste I got going on. So it's about 10 seconds, I think it should be. And you have 3 charges of it. Tiger's Fury is on a 30-second cooldown. So you can have 3 brutal. You want a Tiger's Fury and then use 3 procs of Brutal Slash. These are my motions for it, right? This is my sign language for Tiger's Fury, Brutal Slash. To make sure that you're getting 15% increased damage from your Tiger's Fury onto each one of those Brutal Slash. Because if we Brutal Slash with no Tiger's Fury, right, we're hitting for about 2.4 mil, 1.3 non-crit, right? Now let's Tiger's Fury and then Brutal Slash 4 mil, 3.5 mil. Let's drop Tiger's Fury again. 1.3 mil. So there's a huge difference between having Tiger's Fury and not having Tiger's Fury. And the way that, yeah, we're critting for almost double just by having Tiger's Fury. So the way that's going to kind of work is Tiger's Fury and then Brutal Slash. So if I'm on an AoE pack, I'll rake, Tiger's Fury, Thrash, so that if anything dies, we get the reset on our Predator. Then I'll just spam Brutal Slash and then just rake, rip, tab target, get rakes on the target. The point at which you want to stop raking is, I think, about 5 targets. Then you only want to thrash and rip and brutal slash. You don't want to rake targets anymore. And then I think for it to be more efficient to just thrash and brutal slash and not rip or rake is, I think, the point at Hey, look at that. Thank you for the follow, JP Bonbon. I'll get back to you in a second after this little VOD that we're doing for the YouTubes. For anyone watching on YouTube, look, you can follow me on Twitch. Isn't that great? So you want to stop raking and ripping at, I think it's around about 7 targets or more, and then you just want to be thrashing and brutal slashing. But you'll get to a point. I mean, that's for the most optimal. You might kind of just want to thrash and brutal slash and chill, and you'll still do some stupid amounts of damage. But that is kind of my top tips on the single target and AoE rotations, the opening rotations for Feral Druid, and hopefully that has been good for you. Guys, I'm really sorry for that completely over the top, overused follow emotion going on. Sorry for the YouTube watchers and any VOD watchers, but that's gonna end it for this VOD. So I'm gonna close that one down and yeah, hope you enjoyed that one, guys. Thank you.